Hello, wonderful people of the internet. I'm Adam. I'm the artistic director of Peripeteia Theatre Company, and joining me today we have Melissa, the newest member of Peripeteia's family. Over to you, Melissa, to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm a producer. I've also got a background in acting and directing, and I'm really excited to get involved.
Ace, wonderful. This is a very informal, hopefully, chat that we are going to do, just introducing Melissa to the world, Peripeteia's following, and yeah, hopefully get to know a bit more about each other as we go on. So, first question I've got for you, Melissa, is how did you get inspired to do producing?
It's quite a long story, actually. As probably a lot of us, we all wear a lot of hats, don't we? I think as we're trying to find our way in this industry. And so basically, as a young kid, got into dancing, moved from there into a youth theatre, did a lot of musical theatre. Then went to college, did drama and theatre again. Went to uni, did drama and performance, and then worked a full-time job for 2 years. Wasn't for me. And then came back to education to do my MA in contemporary performance practice. So from there, I kind of, for a little while, I moved away from theatre just a tiny little bit, and started to explore film a bit. So seeing where my acting was going, kind of started writing as well from there. And then from that, I created a production company, which is where I've got my first taste of producing. Um, so it's quite nice, I think, that as a producer, I've got like the experience of being in front of a camera or being on stage, but also having that knowledge of what it's like to organize things and to direct things. So yeah, I've got that knowledge of like both sides of the industry really, which I think has been a really nice way for me to get into producing because then I now understand a lot about a lot of different things. Um, but yeah, I never kind of knew what people meant when they said that they just kind of fell into producing, but that's definitely the case for me. But I think I've fallen into it more like intentionally rather than accidentally. Because I found that like all of my greatest strengths, like my passion, my determination, my organization, my creativity could all be met through producing, where sometimes in other roles I felt like I was lacking a little bit. But I didn't quite know what it was until I started producing. But yeah, when I'm producing, I feel the most at home and I love the idea of seeing something develop from its initial stages to being up on stage or up on a screen and then just seeing how all the hard work of the cast and crew has come together. I find it really satisfying that it's come from words on a page to something actual, tangible, and real that people can see. So yeah, I think that was like all the things that inspired me to get into producing and want to do producing, so that I could see something from like just a concept and an idea actually come to fruition.
Excellent. It's really interesting that you talk about theatre being the first love and then
Hmm.
moving into sort of film. Explain that a little bit. What's about theatre that makes it so passionate for you?
Hmm. So a theatre for me was where it all started, you know. I think knowing how people feel when they're on a stage, but also knowing all of the work that goes on behind the scenes to put a show on that makes it seem so almost effortless in a way to an audience, um, is what really drove me to keep going with theatre. I think as well, like just going away to uni and being exposed to all these different kinds of theatre making and performance making that coming from like a small working class town I never knew existed, you know, like dance theatre, more performance art based things. It was just like a whole new world to me and I really just wanted to explore all of that. But yeah, I just love it. I just love the way it makes people feel. I love the way it makes me feel. Yeah, and I just love being a part of it.
Yeah, I do think it is each medium that we have in the creative industry, whether it's
Mhm.
audio, theatre, film, has its own unique stance towards it. But
Yeah.
especially when we talk to actors, I think
Hmm.
that's when everyone goes, no, theatre is a passion, theatre is a love.
Yeah, it's
And I
the
do,
liveness of it, isn't it? I think
yeah,
that you're not gonna get the same performance every single night. You're
yeah,
not gonna get the same audience every single night. And yeah, I think there's just that yeah, there's just something special, I
yeah.
think, about it that
And
you can do it. Yeah.
the connection that you have towards that audience
Mhm.
You don't have, say, in front of a theatre screen or
Yeah.
a TV screen or in the headphones.
Mhm.
Very different the experience of what theatre is, which makes
Yeah,
it magical.
exactly.
What was your first production like?
So my first production was actually a digital theatre piece that was shown during lockdown. Um, so it was shown as part of a fundraiser as well, which really kind of drew me to the project because that's kind of what I'm all about as a producer. Um, making work for underrepresented voices and underrepresented communities and things like that. But it was genuinely such a lovely experience, and it just set me off on a really nice trajectory into producing. And it's where I found that my practice is rooted in collaboration,
Mm,
and that I work best when I'm part of a creative team. So I'm not the kind of producer who like wants to take over. I'm all about like working with the writer, working with the director to support the project and like support those people getting their creative vision out. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So yeah, just basically so they can be like their most creative selves and to get the best out of the project, and then we can make the best version of the work possible. But yeah, like that's basically like what my first production taught me. So it was more of like a video art piece, but it was created by a theatre company. And it was shown at like a couple of little festivals that were kind of held online because obviously it was basically the only thing that we could do to kind of get that online platform going. But yeah, it was just lovely and working with different artists that I'd not met before and stuff like that. Yeah, it's nice.
it's interesting that you talk about lockdown because obviously
Mhm.
we're 5 years old this year, and this is why we're doing this conversation and different bits and pieces for the birthday celebration. Because 5 years feels like a very long time, the amount
Mhm.
that we've done it, but it's such a short amount of time that we've been active. So it's really interesting that you mentioned sort of like the projects during lockdown that
Mhm.
people started to do. How did you find that experience of sort of like using Zoom, for instance, with productions and stuff like that? Because we couldn't be in the theatres.
Yeah.
How was that?
So at the time I was working like a remote job as well, because I've been furloughed. So I was quite used to communicating through like video platforms. So I didn't find the communication was that much of like an issue, just like the technical side of things. Sometimes if your Wi-Fi was down and that
Yeah,
would be a problem if you had a meeting or something. But yeah, in terms of like I think sometimes it's a little bit tricky knowing what someone's full creative vision is without speaking to them in person, and mostly corresponding through things like emails if they're not available for a video call and that kind of stuff. And also like the technical side of things. So I took on a little bit more of like a technical role within this as well, to the point where I was responsible for like uploading the videos to YouTube to be able to be all streamed at the same time. So that was a big learning curve for me actually as well. And figuring out this whole new this whole new world because YouTube to me was like something that I'd watched but not necessarily put anything on.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, like getting to grips with like a bit of graphic design as well to like put all of the marketing materials out there. And then I think with social media, I think it got to a new level during lockdown, because it was the only way people could find out what like stuff was going on really. So yeah, that was another learning curve. But yeah, I guess just navigating lots of different things, but it was good because I learned a lot. Um, but yeah, I think just the communication sometimes was different to meeting in person.
yeah. Because I do think you, producer aside, I think as a creative during that process of lockdown,
Mhm,
we gave ourselves a little bit more credit to what we could achieve. So whether
mhm,
it is like, oh, I need to design a poster for a show that I need to market, I've learned an incredible amount that I could actually do in that time.
yeah,
And we was doing audio productions, so we was doing remote sound. So for example, the dreams that we did, our
mhm.
first production, which we are doing again at 53 2 as a theatre show on the 26th of October, so please book your tickets. um, it was really incredible to do that because we had actors from across the country in
Mm,
wardrobes recording audio for this project that we was doing that we was
yeah.
rehearsing over Zoom. And it was just a really interesting time. And I
Mhm.
think reflecting back, yes, it was a really sad time and a really hard time. But I think there were nuggets of happiness,
Mm,
creativity that was going on, and we must carry on doing theatre and
yeah,
audio and film, and we must carry on.
yeah.
But it was a really interesting time, I think.
I think it's that thing of when limitations are placed upon what you can do, how creative we actually can get,
Yeah,
and how much we can learn as well, I suppose.
yeah. And the other thing taken from that as well, talking about the communication aspect as well, everyone finds it really interesting. So the most frequent collaborator that I have at Peripeteia is Aaron, who's our resident sound designer and
Mhm,
composer. But Aaron lives in London, and when we started Peripeteia, I moved from London to Manchester. I moved back
mhm.
home, and I've never met Aaron in the 5 years that we've done, in the countless amount of projects that we've done.
Yeah,
I've never met Aaron, but we've managed to somehow have this communication line where
yeah,
whether it's over WhatsApp, Zoom calls, emails, where we're really good at that communication level.
mhm,
We can talk about an idea. Aaron does his sound design down in London, and it comes and travels up to Manchester by WeTransfer or whatever it is.
yeah,
It works. It just works, and everyone's fascinated by the relationship that we have together as
mm,
creators. But it just works, which I find really interesting. But
yeah.
it's just one of those things.
I think it opens up, like, a new level of collaboration.
Yeah,
Because yeah, even though, like, the technical side was sometimes a little bit of kind of held you back a little bit, if you didn't kind of I think one of the things that I realized as well is, like, for older artists, for example, who aren't, um, necessarily, like, technically, like, advanced in a way, I suppose is the right word to use for it, I guess. It was actually almost, like, made me get better at communication by trying to help them figure out how they
yeah,
can get online.
yeah,
So that was really nice, and I think it's also opened new doors to where we maybe didn't know that we could connect with people in that way before. So now you can connect with an artist, and it's like just the immediate thought is like, "Oh yeah, we'll do a video call, no worries."
yeah, yeah,
Rather than having to, like, put a whole day aside to travel and
yeah.
this and that, like, you can make these really exciting collaborations with people that are the other side of the country
Yeah.
or even the other side of the world.
Because I remember one of the monologue Mondays that we did. The actress that we was using at the time was in Gibraltar.
Mm,
She filmed remotely in Gibraltar. I navigated through Zoom what we needed, and then in Gibraltar she filmed and then sent the clip over to me. It was just it was just it's really useful having Zoom, I think.
mm,
It's now embedded in the creative life.
yeah,
Whereas I think 5 years ago it wasn't a thing.
mhm,
But now it is, and like you said, those collaborations can happen so quickly
yeah,
at different aspects of the world.
mhm.
So what makes you say yes to a project?
I think I've got, like, a set of probably, like, 4 or 5 criteria. I if the story pulls me in,
Yeah,
it immediately gets my interest. I like to see strong themes and to see that that's developed. I like to see a diverse cast, um, because I think a story is most interesting when you have all walks of life within that story. And then also if the story has opportunity for development as well. So say, for example, someone's written a short play, then being in discussions with them about potentially whether they would want to elongate the play and make it into a full length play and see what we can do with that, you know? So I think for me that's like my top 4, I would say, reasons as to why I would wanna get involved and produce a project.
further on to that, what makes you say yes to a stage play of new work? Because Peripeteia is all about new work, and we've got the
Yeah.
boiler room that does the
Mm.
developments and stuff like that. So that's attuned to my ears. But what makes you say yes to new work on stage?
Um, I think it's that idea of giving someone an opportunity that hasn't necessarily been given those opportunities before. So yeah, I think it is one of those things where it's difficult to get your foot in the door, I think,
Yeah,
for a lot of places if you don't already have a writing credit or you don't already have experience. And because some places you go to apply and it's like, we need 5+ years of experience, and it's like, but how am I supposed to get that experience without obviously companies like what we're doing here? And yeah, it's yeah, all about creating opportunities for new writers and new actors and new performers, and giving people that chance to go, actually, I can do this, and giving them the chance to then be able to move on from that and go, oh well, I do have the experience to apply for this now, and I can get this little bit further in my career because I've had this opportunity. And yeah, I love the idea of bringing new stories and new voices to people as well, because I think a lot of the time when you look at theatre programs, it is a lot of the same companies that are being commissioned to put work on, and commissioned to put their plays on. And it's nice to see something refreshing and a new voice and new faces that are performing that as well.
yeah. I do think what we it's hard to say because I don't want to make us sound like some egotistical big company, but
Yeah.
what we do try to achieve is a a different type of voice each time that
Mhm.
we do a production.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the sense of what the voice sounds like in terms of
Mm.
its creative team members
Yeah.
or its actors. I don't really like using the same people over and over again. That's no
Mhm.
shade to anyone that does that. Some people love working with a pool of actors,
Yeah.
which it's good for them. But I like the freshness
Mhm.
using different people and different voices brings to each production.
Yeah.
And there are some times where I go, actually, that person would be really good because
Mhm.
we plan 3 years in advance in
Yeah.
that production in X, Y, and Z number of years or months or days, whatever it is. But the majority of times, it is new people and new flavors that we have
Mhm.
to a recipe of what makes new work
Yeah.
exciting. Um, what about creative team members then? What makes you say yes and no to creative team members?
I think for me, it goes back to that idea that my practice is rooted in collaboration.
Mm,
So if from the outset there's a very clear feeling that the people that I'm working with are very collaborative as well, and they want the best for the project as well. I think for me that is like two of the main things I look for. Also, people who want to create the same kinds of work that I want to create. Because I think if you're not creatively on the same page, yeah, it doesn't quite gel together, does it? But yeah, I think like when I've mentioned obviously like interesting stories, strong themes, diverse casts, opportunity for like and development opportunities, getting new writing on the stage, getting like that, all of that to me is like when I talk to someone, if that's the kind of things that they're talking about, I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
we're on the same level, we're on the same page. Like I can see how would be like a fruitful collaboration and how we could make some really great work together.
Have you ever had a production where you've had to manage creative differences? Because I know it always comes back to the text,
Mm.
but then when we move into sort of like pre-production and then production itself, sometimes those conversations need to be had.
Yeah.
We started off on the same page.
Mhm.
You're now on chapter 6, and I'm
Yeah.
still on chapter 1.
Thankfully, I've not had to to deal with anything like that as of yet, but I imagine a time like that will come. But I feel like when just going to like uni and being around lots of different people with lots of different creative intentions that are on the same course kind of prepares you for those experiences in a way. I think especially like working in like a drama and performance course, there's lots of people with lots of different different ideas, different views, different this, different that, and then you're clumped together in a group. And it's like, right, okay, now we've got to work out what you want to do, what you want to do, what I want to do, and how we're gonna compromise. And I think it's having that ability to compromise and not just be constantly like strong ideas, strong ideas. You have to kind of sit back sometimes and go, all right, okay, let's listen to what everybody wants and let's find a nice compromise in the middle of this where we're all happy with the work that's being created, that we're all happy with what we're doing, we're all happy with the roles that we're doing, and working forward from there. And then I guess by doing that, you're setting up a good working relationship as to when people have ideas or they want to change something, it's not like a big conflict. It's a we're going to sit down and we're going to have a conversation. And if you think something needs to go in a different direction, let's take it on board. Let's see if it would work. And if it doesn't work, then you can't be too precious about it, I suppose.
Yeah.
You got to let things go sometimes.
And it's always about how you work with someone might open a door
Mhm.
to new production or a new
Yeah.
project. So it's not always about holding your tongue and stuff, but I think it is
Mhm.
always about knowing how to collaborate differently with different people,
Yeah.
which really helps and supports navigate the industry a bit as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, Logistics. Talk to me about logistics. So, what's
Mhm.
the logistic challenges that you face on productions?
So I think I'll probably go for like the two logistics that I think I have I've faced not problems with, but there can be difficulties. I find that set can be a logistical not problem, but challenge. And also getting everyone that's involved in a project to be available at the same time. Because obviously when you're working in a team and you want everybody to be in the same place at the same time so that everyone can have a meeting, yeah, kind of figuring all that out can sometimes be a little bit of an issue, but I find that usually if you've got, like, a good few dates, generally you'll find something, but it's just kind of adapting to
Yeah.
who can do what and when. And then with set, I find that again, it depends whether it's gonna be, like, a touring production or whether it's gonna be a production that's, like, on for a few nights at one place, but I think it's even if you do a minimal set, it's very rare that you're gonna find something that you can just pop into a bag and just get it on your shoulder and go, like, you're gonna need to find like some transport or have possibly get something made, if it's not something that you can find, if it's something, out of the box to what we would use on an everyday basis, something that IKEA doesn't do basically. Doesn't come flat packed in a box. But yeah, that I think set and then, the logistics of availability and scheduling and stuff like that can sometimes be the, uh, the biggest challenge, I think.
I think the only way that I can combat, and I agree with you both on those because I do think set is like
Mhm.
sometimes cars can be like the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Be like everything crumbs in, you don't
Mhm.
know how you drive to the place, everything crumbs out,
Yeah.
and then you could take it back, and it's like, well, that fit last time, so why
Mhm.
does it not fit this time?
Yeah.
Um, I think with availability, what I've started to do on my end,
Mhm.
start doing availability charts, sort of like during audition process.
Yeah.
So that actually now plays a factor if a person
Mhm.
gets a role or not. And I know that's really hard, but sometimes if you've got really bad availability where you can only do 1 day a week,
Yeah.
or the second best choice that can do 5 days a week, you kind of sway towards your second choice a little bit more there.
Mhm.
But yeah, I also think budgeting is something that I
Yeah.
really struggle with as well.
Mhm.
That magic number makes sense at the end is a really tricky challenge.
Yeah.
Um, but what has been the most successful production that you've done so far?
Um, I guess for me it would be like, I'm gonna have to move away from theatre just for a sec,
Yeah,
because I would say the most successful, um, was a film that I recently produced, and it was for me, it was simply because it was such a wholesome experience. And it one of the most wholesome experience I've had working on a project because from start to finish, the cast and the crew just got on beautifully, and the communication was amazing, the collaboration was amazing. If there was ever any hiccups, they were worked out and solved with like no problems. Like it was almost like the perfect production in a way of like if there was a problem, we were really relaxed about it and we were like, "Oh, it's fine. Let's just sort it out," because everyone was had that same attitude
Mm.
and the same passion for the project. Um, there was no like stress on set. It was just genuinely a beautiful experience, and for me, that's what makes a successful production. You know, you can put something out there and you can sell loads of tickets and you can do this and you can do that, but for me, the success comes from the collaboration and how everyone felt making the project, because ultimately that's gonna come out and reflect that in the final project, like the final product that you get.
Yeah.
So for me, if the making stages and the creative stages go, really nicely and are like everyone's getting on and having a great time, but also they've got that discipline to know when we're working,
Yeah.
but also know when that we're all friends as well. Like we're all working together, we're all creatives, we're all here to like enjoy the process as well as work on the process. That's where the like greatest
Mm.
success for me comes in. I guess it's kind of like just kind of refocusing where and redefining what success
Yeah.
means when you're working on something.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, success depends on how you measure success.
Mhm.
Because some people say, oh, we had a successful show because we sold 500 tickets over the 3 nights.
Yeah.
Or we had a successful show because we got a 4 star or 5 star review. So it just depends on what you
Mhm.
measure as success. Depends on what success means to you, I think, at the
Yeah,
end of the day.
exactly.
Have you ever taken a risk that's paid off on a production?
Um, yes, I so one of the projects that I worked on, we mostly wanted to hire actors from the Manchester area. But for a specific role that we had, the only actor that we were like, "Yes," like, immediately, we were a yes. As soon as we watched the audition, as soon as we watched the self-tape, we were like, "That's exactly who we want in this role." Um, they were coming from London. So
Mm,
for me, it was like a budgeting risk
yeah.
of how much is it gonna cost for us to get them here because they were just perfect for the role, and I think when and they had the availability and they had, you know, they were willing to travel, they were willing to come to Manchester because they wanted to do the role, and for me, like, that willingness and then the risk of bringing them here combined together,
Mhm,
I was like, "Okay, let's just do it. Let's see what we can do." And, yeah, just kind of throwing yourself into something sometimes kinda pays off.
mhm.
Um, but then just in terms of, like, being a producer and taking risks, I think it's one of those things where, like, you yourself as a creative just has to take risks by putting yourself out there too. Um, and, you know, you're risking basically rejection if you message someone and they say, "Oh, yeah, I'm not open for a collaboration right now," or you email someone and they say, "I'm not open for a collaboration right now," or you apply for a job or some funding or something and they don't think you've got enough experience, but I think viewing those things as a learning opportunity and being like, "All right, so maybe I didn't get the funding, but now I've got the experience of applying for this kind of funding, or I've got the experience of applying for a job to this company, or I've got experience in networking now and connecting with people." And I think as well, like making your own productions
Yeah.
and putting your own stuff on stage and, you know, working with other people who want to put work on, but again, are looking for the experience is a risk in itself. But in the end, I've always found that it does pay off because you meet all of these amazing other creatives and it's one of those things where the people that you're connecting with right now, you never know where they're gonna be
Yeah.
in 5 years' time, and if you've worked with them on a project and they've really enjoyed working with you on that project, the chance that they're gonna recommend you for something else further along the line is pretty high. So I think, like, my family always say to me, like, "If there's something that you wanna do, Melissa, you're gonna do it." Because they just know that I'm willing to take those small risks along the way to be able to get to where I need to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think don't be scared of rejection.
Yeah. I
Like,
think
yeah.
I think it's because we put yes on a pedestal, we have to put
Mhm.
no on a pedestal, and we don't really, because the yes is fabulous and it's really exciting.
Yeah,
The no is like, okay, we can move on now.
yeah.
Whereas we put so much energy and effort into, oh, I've got a no
Mhm.
today, or it really drags me down. But I literally just say the worst they can say is no, and then you move.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's one of those things where, like, I think as long as you know that you've tried,
Yeah,
you've always got yourself to you always know and believe in your own work. If you didn't believe in your own work, you wouldn't be trying to put it out there, do you know? So,
yeah,
I think, like, when I do get a rejection, sometimes I'm just like, "Oh, well, their loss."
yeah,
Because I believe in what I do and I believe
yeah,
in my own work, and I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." So, there's somebody else out there that will want, like, what I'm doing and, the work ethic that I bring to a project, and so you do have to kind of view it as like, "Okay, that wasn't right for me, that wasn't but something is gonna come along at the right time that is right for me, and the next opportunity is always coming, there's always things there, you just don't know when the right one is gonna be for you," which I guess is probably something that a lot of people do struggle with in the creative industries as well, just not knowing when that next opportunity is coming, but I don't know, I like the idea because sometimes it comes along as a little surprise, and
yeah,
you're like, "Oh,
yeah,
amazing." Or you apply for something like 6 months ago, and you kind of forget because you've sent out so many applications, and then it comes back and it's like, "Oh, yeah, you've got this thing," and it's like, "Oh, it's like a little Christmas present."
yeah. Yeah. What advice would you give to someone as a creative or as a producer
Yeah.
starting out in the industry?
I think my main thing is don't wait around for people to give you opportunities,
Mm,
make them yourself. I think coming from, like, a working class background, I think that, like, entrepreneurship almost is kind of rooted in me, but yeah, like, just don't be afraid to put your work out there and, help others out along the way because and creating your own community as well of creatives that are on, like we were talking about earlier, that are on the same page as you, because when you find those people, that's how you know you're gonna make good work. And I guess a lot of what I've just said as well in terms of, like, just putting yourself out there, contacting people, going to events, looking for opportunities. Um, yeah, and as difficult as it is, I guess taking on some unpaid work as well. I mean, a lot of us do have a pay the bills job,
yeah,
in a lot of aspects, but some of the best people that I've met and best creatives that I've met are people that are doing unpaid work because if they weren't passionate about it, they wouldn't be doing it for nothing. So, just yeah, I guess for, like, just remember that for anyone who wants to be become a producer, like, obviously, put your bills first, but, yeah, if you can take on some unpaid work and meet people who are doing things for, like, the passion of doing it before they get to the point where, they can afford to pay people and things like that, because we all know it's difficult. Yeah, get involved.
excellent. Melissa, it's been such a joy to have this conversation with you today. And people of the internet, thank you for listening. We have been Peripeteia Theatre Company. We currently have a fundraiser going on. So if you can, it will be linked in the description of the video. Please donate if you can. It will be helping to support upcoming and unrepresented artists. And we also have a show on the 26th of October at 53 too. So please book your tickets as well. Thank you for joining me, Melissa.
Thank you.